Tonight on Another Thing About Tartan, as part of our Clan of the Month celebrations for Clan MacFarlane, we are so pleased to welcome John Duff and Barb Duff, both from Hamilton in Ontario, Canada. They're both joining us virtually, of course, to tell us their story. John is the Regional Director within Ontario for Clan MacFarlane Worldwide, and Barb is a former Board Director, now Board Advisor, and a member of the Membership Committee, as well as many others. So I first met John and Barb during a tour of Canadian Highland Games back in 2019, and I visited Glengarry Highland Games, Montreal Highland Games, and Fergus Scottish Festival. So I first met the couple at Glengarry Highland Games, and then again at Fergus Scottish Festival, where Barb was kind enough to share a voucher for some tea and scones with us. So it really did make us feel at home right there in Canada. So welcome to you both. Hi there, how are you?
Hi, Emily.
Good, thanks. How about you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. So as I mentioned, you're both joining me from Hamilton in Canada, and that's about an hour from Toronto, for anyone who doesn't know. And I'm particularly fond of Hamilton because this is where all of my Canadian cousins who are also of Scottish descent come from. So earlier today we were having lots of discussion on where exactly within the city all of my family are based. So it's so nice to have you join us from a special place to me. So.
Thanks.
So have you both always lived in Hamilton then, or are you originally from elsewhere in Canada?
No, actually, I was born in Nova Scotia, near the harbor, and my dad built barracks for the Navy there, and it was actually it was called Port Wallace, but it's now known as Wallace Heights. And it was an area where the people were coming and going all the time, and the servicemen back and forth. And it was sort of because of the North Atlantic convoys traveling from Halifax to Britain. And I was there till I was about 6 or 7 months. And then we moved back to New Brunswick, where my dad and my mother were both born. And at about 10, my dad got work in Ontario. So then we moved up to Ontario. And of course, being a contractor, I lived in many places and we kind of moved where he went. So that's sort of my story.
I've always lived in Ontario. I should say my permanent address has always been Ontario, but I grew up where I was born up near Owen Sound, north of here, and moved to near Mississauga, near Toronto, Brampton area when I was a teenager, 12. And then after that, I moved to different places in Ontario, southwestern Ontario, I should say, after I started working, London, Hamilton, Burlington, and I've lived in Hamilton since, well, I guess it's about 50 years now, since 1980, or that's 40 years now, since 1980.
Yeah, so it definitely feels like home then.
Yes, now it is.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I grew up in the country, so it took a while to get rid of my country feelings about cities, but
yeah, yeah.
Just did now.
Well, I did the opposite, went from a city to the country. So, yeah. And so I know that the city of Hamilton was founded by George Hamilton, and he was a former merchant and politician, and the son of a wealthy and influential Scottish-born merchant, Robert Hamilton. So would you say that there's a strong Scottish influence in the city?
Not so much anymore. There used to be. But I would say there's more the Irish, definitely a lot of Celtic influence here, for sure.
Okay, great. I wasn't sure if I was missing it during my visit, or if it was there to be found.
Yeah.
right now there's a lot of different nationalities too in Hamlin, a lot of from a lot of different countries and ethnicities. So it's a lot larger variety than perhaps it was back 100 years ago.
Yeah, of course. So your name is actually Duff rather than McFarlane. So can you tell me more about both of your connections to the clan?
Okay. Of course, my maiden name is McFarland, and my ancestors immigrated, Scottish ancestors immigrated from Ireland in 1819 and moved into New Brunswick. I got involved with the clan back. There was a Scottish festival that was going to be happening in Fort Erie, and a friend of mine, whose last name was Lennox, told my brother about it, and so he told me. So we got invited to go. So we took my mom along, and I knew there was going to be the genealogist for the McFarlands there, and I wanted to meet her, as well as there was the McFarland Company group there, and that kind of caught my interest as well.
Oh, that's great. And so have you both celebrated your Scottish and clan heritage from a young age then?
Not me. My family never celebrated the heritage, but we kept a lot of the some of the customs, such as getting together. We called it the kitchen party, and in Scotland it's called the Cayley. And so John,
well, my parents took us to Highland Games when we were young, so we're involved with that some. My mother's family from Northern Ireland were involved with the Orange Lodge, so we used to go watch the parades in July, and basically I was somewhat involved with heritage at a young age, but not so much as some people, I guess. When I was 19, I did the hitchhiking tour in Scotland and the European continent, and I went over with several other friends. They wanted to head south. We're in Northern England. They wanted to head south to the continent, but I wanted to see Scotland because I wanted to check on my ancestry. And so I headed north, and I basically didn't leave for 3 months.
Oh, wow.
That was my first visit to Scotland when I was 19.
Amazing. Yeah, you obviously enjoyed your time there.
Yeah, it was
very much.
Very interesting. It was so interesting to actually connect the dots on some things too. For instance, my grandfather, who wasn't born in Scotland, but he always said I, and I knew what it meant, but I didn't understand where it came from. Of course, I found that out in Scotland, and he had some other words he'd say, like "I don't mind" as he got older, or "I don't mind that," and I learned that means don't recall or don't remember. There's different words he'd use, ken, and I never knew where they came from. I understood what they meant because I was around them, but it was kind of like finding some of my roots in a way.
Oh, amazing. And so, Barb, was it through going to that Highland Games that you were telling us about that you first got involved with Clan MacFarlane Worldwide?
At that time, it wasn't Clan MacFarlane Worldwide. My friend belonged to another clan. And so I had joined that clan. But when CMW formed, I wanted to join theirs because we had a lot of people who were interested in doing the best for the clan and doing the things that should be done by the goals and objectives. And I basically joined that clan when they started in 2010, I think it was.
Oh, that's great.
Mark kind of brought me into Clan MacFarlane Worldwide. I was less involved earlier while I was still working, and she was more involved. She was a board member for the last 6 years, or delegate, and I helped her with the clan tents, but I kind of stayed out of it somewhat, being still busy with work and not having a 9-to-5 job. But I got interested in it because a lot of the clans have similar histories, let's say, and I was interested in the history and the customs and of Scotland, so I kind of helped her with it.
I always say that I'm sort of the planner and he's the real history buff, so it works well for us to work together.
Yeah. Oh, a great partnership.
Another bonus to the whole thing was I didn't realize till later that my mother is a Miller. That's her maiden name, and that's actually said of Clan MacFarlane. So I guess I have a couple of connections to Clan MacFarlane.
Oh, I like it. Yeah, so not only through marriage, but also, through your mother's heritage. That's amazing. And so, obviously, at the moment, John, you're regional director. So, what does that role involve then?
It's basically being a board member. What I was actually impressed with was they were kind of ahead of the curve. For example, they were doing conference calls monthly for board meetings originally, and before COVID even, they started doing virtual board meetings. So they were ahead of the Zoom curve. So that was interesting.
Worked well.
Basically, we're both involved in a number of different committees. One of the ones that I've just recently become involved with is the Heritage and Monuments Committee, which is interesting to me because of the history part of it. We're actually involved with some archaeological digs in the Loch Lomond area. They've done some in the past. Right now, they're on hold, unfortunately, because of COVID. But as soon as things open up there a little bit more, there's another one planned this summer if it's okay or open enough in the Loch Lomond area. Yeah. And we've also been involved, the Clan Society has also been involved with transcribing and translating some monuments. They have some that go back to the 1300s, the 1500s, some in Latin, some in Old Scots, and some in English. So they're involved with doing that for the benefit of clan membership and others. So there was one of the past chiefs was an antiquarian. And anyways, he had a lot of the monuments here. He accumulated a lot of them, and they have eventually made their way to memberships who's taking pictures of them, and we're paying people to do transcriptions and transcribe them now.
Oh, that sounds amazing. And so what would you say the most rewarding aspect of being part of the Clan MacFarlane Worldwide Society is then?
I have found with CMW, we have a lot of very knowledgeable women, and the very active and productive and stuff like that. And I find the camaraderie and just being part of a larger family and everybody helping each other and sharing and trying to get more information for each other. It's been quite enlightening for me. So that's what I like about it.
I guess what I enjoy the most about it is some of the historical parts of it, and also I enjoy hosting clan tents because you meet so many different people from so many different walks of life, not all of them Scottish, of course, but many or most. I find it very enjoyable if you're hosting a clan tent, you get a young person or even a middle-aged person who comes in the clan tent and starts asking questions about their family name, and you can actually point to a map of Scotland and say, this is the historic clan lands for that family name or that clan name, and perhaps give them a little bit of history, or if they're interested, even give them some contact information so they can contact their family group or their clan group and continue further as far as perhaps DNA, perhaps genealogy, or even because we've had a few trips to Scotland and I spent some time there, it's even enjoyable passing on some of the customs and information that I've learned or what I can tell them about in the area so they can make decisions on if they would like to go visit.
We find some of the young people are very interesting. If they engage with us and they give us information and stuff, and they get information back, it's amazing to see how delighted they are.
Yeah. I always think whenever we've come to North America to see the clan villages, we don't really have those at the Highland Games here in Scotland. So it's such a spectacle. And the first time I saw them, yeah, all of the volunteers and the amount of information that's available, it's breathtaking, really. So yeah, I think everyone should head along and come and visit you.
Yeah, we'd love it.
I think the difference between North America and other parts of the world and Scotland too are the Scottish people, all their history is around them. Their family is there and they're still in the country. So to them, it's just part of life. So it's not as interesting to learn or as new to them as some people here. You get people in their 20s that will come to a clan tent and maybe their first Highland game. And they'll say, my family name is such and such. I don't even know if it's a Scottish name. It could be German for all I know. And it's interesting to be able to pass that information on to them. And I find that North American Highland Games, as you mentioned, are considerably more well attended, let's say, probably than in Scotland. Well, there's more people too, but just the fact of the numbers and the interest.
Yeah, I was going to say the scale of them. The first time we came out to visit one was, a bit mind-blowing. Because like you say, they're considerably smaller here for the most part in Scotland. So, but it makes you feel very much at home. So
that's good.
Yeah.
An interesting thing is about 25% of the population in Canada is from Scotland, and it's got the largest diaspora, number-wise even, of any country outside of several, like the Isle of Wight and Scotland and Ireland kind of thing. So there's a lot of here. Even
a larger percentage than the U.S. is really surprising to me with the amount of people that they have there.
Yeah, I know. Well, like you say, instantly we have family here just in the same city as you. So it just shows, doesn't it, how strong these bonds between Canada and Scotland are.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Like, especially in rural areas in Canada, I can only speak mainly to Ontario, but my elementary school classmates and the neighbors from where we lived, until I started going to Highland Games and looking up family names, I didn't realize how many of them were Scottish. Now that I have learned a lot about the family names, it's surprising. And all the families around, when we moved to Brampton, in the country outside of Brampton, the same thing. We're surrounded by McClures on farms there.
And so, John, obviously you've told us one of your favourite things is all of the history of the clan. So do you have a favourite story in particular?
Well, as far as Clan MacFarlane, it's a bit of myth and a bit of history, I guess. But if you've ever heard or seen McFarlane's company, they actually go to Scotland quite a bit, and they're involved with the National Trust of Scotland. they actually work back and forth, and they donate money to the National Trust, and they spend several months, I think, most summers there. But a lot of them are based in Ontario and northern U.S. The person in charge of it is Elliot McFarland, who we actually met at that first
Fort Erie.
First Highland game in Fort Erie. Yeah. At the time, he had a red beard down to his waist almost. Now it's pretty white like Santa Claus. But
Oh, wow.
anyhow, what I was going to say is he is a storyteller, among other things, and whiskey taster, etc. But he's heavily involved with the Detroit St. Andrews Society. And I was watching one of his storytelling sessions where he was talking about the McFarlands and the Colquhouns. And McFarlands are known for cattle rustling, along with their neighboring clan, the McGregors. But the McGregors, I guess, weren't as good at getting away with it because they got outlawed. But one of his stories was the McFarlands were well schooled at cattle rustling, and in their history or folklore, the men say that they have better eyesight in the dark than most Scottish people, so they were adept at cattle rustling. And the story he was telling when I was watching it was a lot of Americans were there and some Canadians. And what was interesting was a lot of the people that were McFarland said, "Oh yeah, I was in Vietnam. They used to send me out in night patrol in front because I could see better in the dark." And another guy would say, "Yeah, they sent me in Iraq out in front of them because I could see in the dark." So, how much truth there is to that, I don't know, but it was kind of funny to listen to.
Yeah, that would be an interesting thing to test, whether that has passed down through the generations of the clan. Then, yeah.
I don't know. I'm from a Miller, not a McFarland, so I can't say it got passed to me, but it was a funny story.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, that's great. And so Clan MacFarlane are an armigerous clan, which means that the clan, family, or name is registered with the Court of the Lord Lion, but doesn't currently have a clan chief. So has there been, or do you think there ever will be, a claim to the chiefship?
Well, maybe down the road, we hope. This is why the CMW started with their DNA project. So they have their family name DNA project, which has been going on, and we're getting great results from it. And so maybe down the road, we'll see how things go. But they're really getting a lot of information and really putting things together and correcting other things that weren't so true and stuff like that. So
the history.
So it's really good, really good. We got a great DNA project. The McFarlands is one of the biggest, apparently, and
it's family tree.
And we have a great genealogist, and we have a good person who's looking after all that with the genealogy stuff. So we think we're in good shape with the people that we have.
Oh, that sounds great.
There's a number of project coordinators on the Clan MacFarlane Worldwide Family Tree Project Group, and also a number of well-schooled, educated, or knowledgeable genealogists. So they've done quite well. And they're not only in North America, there's some in Australia, New Zealand. So
yeah,
it's worked out well.
Pretty well all over. So yeah.
Yeah, well, it sounds like a group effort then to try and trace all of this back.
Oh yes, it has to be a group effort. It's hard for one person, so we definitely are a group doing the work that we can.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking of the story of Clan Buchanan reclaiming a chief after 300 years and all the work that they had to do to prove that. So yeah, as a group, it must be much simpler.
Yeah, it takes years to do it.
Yeah.
It's not an easy task for sure.
Yeah, Clan Buchanan and Clan MacFarlane were situated around Loch Lomond, so they have some mixed history, let's say.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Sometimes good, sometimes bad through the
I
centuries.
think that's the same for any two clans in Scotland, isn't it? So, yeah. And I feel like the clan are quite lucky because throughout the tartans, there's a real range of colours from, the red and green, orange, pink, black and white. So do you have a personal favourite for both of you?
There's actually 13 tartans, I think, altogether. I have two favorites. One is the ancient hunting, and the other one is because I love red, is the modern red dress. Those are my two favorites, anyways.
Oh, good choices.
I have to admit that I like the McFarlane hunting ones the best, but to be honest, I wear Macduff tartan. That's one thing. Even though I'm not involved with Clan Macduff, it isn't very active in Canada. I wanted to wear the Macduff tartan.
Oh, well, it seems only right. You'll have to create an outfit where you can combine both clans, John.
Yep, that's right. Yep.
Sounds good. And so obviously COVID put a stop to holding gatherings and Highland Games last year. So I know that you went ahead with a virtual celebration. So was that the first virtual gathering that you held as a society, and how did that go?
Yeah, it turned out to be the one we did at Christmas was the celebration of light. And there was another one before that we kind of did. Laurie McFarlane worked a lot of time on it, and she tried to put into the four main components of a Highland game, because we couldn't do any Highland games. And of course, that's the music and the dancing and stuff like that. But in the second one, it was because somebody celebrates with light all over the world in some way or form. And so she did it that way. And it was received very well. Of course, it's not the same as being there in person or whatever, but it was a way of sharing and connecting with your members to try to keep them in touch so as to not to lose their interest. So I found that it was very successful, and there was good comments on it, don't you think?
I think what I've learned, especially through COVID, is a lot of the virtual events aren't as well attended number-wise, but they're more widely attended geography-wise. And that gives the people, especially in countries like Canada and the United States, where the distances are so great, it allows people across the country to be more involved without the expense and time of travel involved. There may be less people that actually attend an event, but I think what we'll find in the future is most people or clans or societies or businesses that can do both are going to do both, because they each have their purpose.
Certainly. But I'm sure you're desperate to get back to in-person Highland Games as soon as it's safe to do so.
That's one thing we're going to really miss this summer.
It's the connection with the people.
Yeah, the face-to-face connection. But unfortunately, that's a thing we can't have here now. So that and the live music and entertainment, we really miss that. I've really become a lover of Celtic music. So
and the history lectures and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed all will be well for next summer. Yeah. So in addition to being members of Clan MacFarlane Worldwide, you also both represent the clan as part of CASOC. So CASOC is the Clans and Scottish Societies of Canada, which we are also business members of. So I know I joined you for the AGM virtually. So just shows that, I probably wouldn't have been able to do that if it hadn't been for lockdown and Zoom. So, can you tell us a bit more about how CASOC originated, how you first got involved, and the clan society links to that?
Basically, I was there to represent our clan and to speak for them.
Delegate.
As a delegate. That's why I joined. And John?
Barb was more involved earlier on again because she went to some of the meetings in the 90s. I think I maybe went to one, but we're also involved with Clan MacFarlane. Those are ancestors of Barb's, and I have ancestors that were Mackenzies, and they're kind of tied together. So we got involved with them some. So we're basically a delegate for Clan MacFarlane and Clan MacFarlane on CASOC. So one of us does one of us does the other kind of thing. CASOC is very interesting because they're kind of an umbrella group in Canada and the States for the clans and Scottish societies. So it's an excellent way to meet like-minded members from other groups and other clan societies, some of which attend the Celtic festivals and the Highland Games, but not all of which do. So it's a good way to meet other people and get contacts and find out about different things that are coming up, events and education or group gatherings or whatever. And they have kind of a way of keeping the different Scottish societies together as one group. The best thing that I find about CASOC too is when we go to a Highland game, we have a membership binder that has all the clans groups that are members, and we can actually give or let a individual that's visiting our clan tent take a look at the binder and take a picture of their clan if they're a member of, or their family is another clan, and get the contact information, the website information, and information like that, so they can, if they're interested, become a member of that group or society. So that's one of the best things they're doing for advertising, I think.
And CASOC also has on their list, if you're looking for a piper for weddings or anything like that, or dancers and stuff, there's ways to go in and you can hire them if you like.
They're also involved with the kilt skate. I don't know if you've heard anything about that, but they do the one in Toronto.
So those are the big things.
And Tartan Day.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
They've also what's also interesting is the last few years, maybe previously they were, but the last few years they've become involved with the American, forget what the names is, CASSOA, the Clans and Scottish Societies of America, I think is the actual. So there's a lot of back and forth for different conferences with that. So it's a good way to involve the diaspora and pass on information, some of which are virtual again, so it's easier for everyone to see.
Yeah, because there's is it the Scottish North American Leadership Conference, I think?
That's what it was called, but last year they called it
changed.
They changed the name because leadership sounded like just the people in charge. They wanted everybody to be involved. So Scottish North American Community Council, I think it is now. But anyways, we even had, or I should say the group even had a remote interview with Dr. Bruce Drury and the Lord Lyon last year. So there's, and I forget his name, Don Russell. Andrew Don. Anyways, there's a lot of different people that have been involved with that, so it's quite informational. Yeah,
well, I think it's a great way, like you say, for you to meet other friends from and kind of make connections to help everyone. So
yeah, it's keeping in touch and sharing the information.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's fantastic. And I know that in 2011, the maple leaf tartan, which had been an unofficial national tartan for a long time, was made an official symbol of Canada. So as a Canadian, how did it feel to see the tartan join significant emblems such as the coat of arms and the national flag of Canada?
Tartans aren't seen too much except during cultural and political events, but it's interesting that, especially because Canada was a large part of, or sorry, Scotland was a large part of the Canadian Confederation. A lot of the ministers and the first prime ministers were actually born in Scotland, and a lot of the laws and constitutions were based on Scottish law and constitutions. So I find it appropriate and interesting that it's tied to the Confederation, but it's not just in they also have a provincial tartan for every province and probably some of the territories and a lot of cities. You don't, again, as I said, you don't see people going out and buying them too often to wear them unless they're maybe a politician or they're involved with the cultural or tourist industry. But it is a nice way to tie back to Scotland, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I know that the current Prime Minister has been known to don a kilt as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's St. Clair, I think, on his mother's side.
And the colors are beautiful because of the fall. It's beautiful in the fall around all the maple trees and that. So it's sort of incorporating those colors.
Yeah, it's a lovely one. I'm a big fan. And so at the moment, we've noticed that there's been a real trend for people exploring their roots and ancestry, maybe partly due to spending more time at home during lockdown. But has the society and CASOP both been benefiting from that? And do you think that will continue?
Yes, I think it's made a difference for a lot of people as far as wanting connections with genealogy. That's become a lot more popular for a number of reasons. The bulk of the population, being baby boomers, is aging, so they're more interested in their ancestry or history, so they can try to pass it on to the younger generations, and they have more time and less distractions probably, so they're able to spend more time on things like genealogy and looking up history. It's something you can do from home, so I think it's a benefit to the clan societies because it's a place to research, and because most clan societies have a clan genealogist or several clan genealogists, it's a good place to investigate or research. And so, yeah, I believe it's made a difference. The other thing, too, is a lot more things are online.
Of course.
Before computers, it was a lot more difficult to do any research. You had to go to the place and go to the land registry offices, museums, history societies. That's a lot more tedious and time consuming and expensive too.
I was going to say, it's amazing how much is accessible now when you start down that journey. Yeah, just the amount of information you are able to find, like you say, without even having to leave your house. It's incredible.
Yeah, yes. I see the Scottish, I forget what it's called, but the Scottish genealogy website even has a lot of church records online now.
Yeah, I know that they're always a good source of information, aren't they? So, yeah. And so when you come to Scotland, obviously, John, you told us during your first visit you didn't want to leave and stayed for 3 months. But when you do return to Scotland, what are your favourite places to visit or things to eat, places to go?
Well, my favorite things are going to the different places, looking up the places from my ancestors. And my favorite thing to eat is all the different kinds of scones with the jam and tea. So good.
There's most areas of Scotland I enjoy visiting, but I really enjoy the scenery in Scotland. Maybe not so much now with the wind turbines, but before that, it was pretty awesome to look at. I I spent more time in the country than in the cities when I visit in the past. Now it's kind of looking up different historical sites and different castles. I was more involved with the day-to-day life when I was there for the 3 months, and kind of totally immersed, I guess, in Scottish culture in a small town out in the West Coast. So it was education. I even had a hog meat there, so that was interesting.
Yeah,
in a small town, so I got to see it in the early 70s, which is hopefully not changed too much now. I haven't been to a hog meat since in Scotland, but.
And we visit Tennebrook every time that we're there. We got friends there, but it's nice just going. Every time we go, we learn and see different things and share different things. So it's great.
The thing that now that we do or enjoy doing is a lot of our shared ancestry is from Perthshire area. So there's different areas where both of our ancestors came from. So just exploring those areas is interesting. I didn't look at that part back when I was 19, but nowadays I'm more interested in that.
Yeah, well, it's amazing. And yeah, I can only imagine to come back and see all of the places that your ancestors came from. For me, I can take it for granted because it's right on my doorstep. But
there's actually a farm that my ancestor James Duff emigrated from he was born in 1809, so the 1840 time frame or something. But he apprenticed as a stonemason in Glasgow. Anyways, that farm is still a working farm in Little Dunkeld area, and it's been a working farm since medieval times. So it's interesting. We actually got to walk the fields there when we went back one time
and climb the hills.
And there's some old ruins without the roofs of crofters' cottages or houses, or back in the back 40 of the hill area. So it's interesting. One of them could have been the one my ancestor lived in even.
That's great. And so vice versa, when anyone's coming to Canada, where do you tell them that they have to come and visit?
Well, there's a lot of different areas to Canada. It's absolutely huge.
Oh, yeah.
So it depends on where they're good visiting and what their interests are. But both of us have traveled extensively in Canada, so there's a lot of different areas we can point them to. The prairies are rural and flat land. If they want to see mountains, there's British Columbia and Alberta, and smaller mountains. There's places like the Appalachians and Laurentian Mountains. The coast, like Nova Scotia, and Cape Breton have Gaelic areas.
A lot like Scotland.
There's actually a Gaelic college in Nova Scotia. There's if they're interested in kind of unique cultures, there's Newfoundland, which is when we were in Western Ireland, the Irish people actually that had visited Newfoundland said that they felt closer to them than a lot of people in the rest of Britain because they had similar accents and similar customs and slang. And even though they're across the Atlantic, it was the closest land west of Northwest Ireland. So it depends on what they're interested in. There's a lot of beautiful areas in Canada, though, and things to see.
A lot of people like to see Niagara Falls, which is only about an hour from Hamilton.
Yeah.
That's one main thing in this area for people to go and see.
And lots of good wineries in that region too, aren't there?
Yeah, and also in Toronto, there's all kinds. Anybody interested in stuff there? There's all kinds of things. They have a wonderful aquarium, and some great Highland Games.
There's a little bit of everything in Canada. We have the beaches, we have the mountains for skiing, we have winter sports, summer sports. We have the high Arctic tundra, And the southern part, you wouldn't know if you're in Canada or the States. They're almost identical in a lot of ways. One thing that's a lot different in Canada than in Britain, though, is you won't see the old buildings here like you do in Britain or Scotland. That's a huge difference. That was an eye-opener for me, being in a building that had been in continuous operation since the 1500s or something like that. You don't see that here.
No.
Everything is too new.
Well, I think having always lived quite close to Edinburgh, again, it's just something we took for granted. But you soon realise that, that's unusual.
Most buildings here were wood, so they haven't been around since the 1500s, early buildings anyways.
Wood or brick.
No. Oh, and so finally, can you tell us how people can get involved with Clan MacFarlane Worldwide? I'm sure they'll be interested to go and investigate after all you've told us.
Yeah, you just go on the web and click on Clan MacFarlane Worldwide, and you can go in and you can log online. We also have a Facebook, and that once they join, they can go on to Facebook and do stuff as well.
Yeah, they can enroll online through the computer or phone, whichever their preference.
Yeah, they can. Well, getting on the computer is where they're going to find all the information, unless they join us at one of the Highland Games. We can give them all the paperwork there.
There's a number of Highland Games in the States that are attended by Clan MacFarlane Worldwide and in Canada, and the rest of the world for that matter.
Yeah.
Australia, New Zealand.
We usually do about anywhere from 14. We did 18 one year. So basically, there's quite a few that if they're in the area, they can find us.
Interesting thing about this area, it's called the Golden Horseshoe around Lake Ontario near the border. It's not that distant to go to a lot of Highland Games, Celtic festivals, or Scottish festivals in southwestern Ontario or southern Quebec near the Ontario border and down into northeastern USA. So there's quite a number of different festivals most years, not the last 2 years, but most years.
Yeah.
That you can attend if you're interested and get your fix for Celtic music and heavy games and everything else.
Yeah.
And art even.
Oh, perfect. Well, thank you so much for you both joining us today, sharing your insights and stories. And I wish you both a safe next few months and look forward to being able to see you here in Scotland or back at Highland Games across the pond.
You'll see us next year.
Yep. Hope to see you here next year.
Thanks,
Amazing.
Emily.
Take care.
Thank you.